Tom was a quiet technician who worked on energy systems. He was not a soldier, not a diplomat, not a hero. He fixed broken machines and made things work again. That was all. When the human government selected a team to help repair a damaged energy grid on the alien planet Mirias, Tom was surprised to be included. The mission was peaceful. The Thalani, the insect-like alien rulers of Mirias, had signed a cooperation treaty with Earth. Humans were welcome on their world, but few had ever visited the inner cities, and none had entered the royal palace. Tom's job was to adjust the power systems that ran deep inside the palace walls. He had no idea his life was about to change forever. On the day they arrived, the human team was led through tall silver gates into a hall of glowing blue lights. The walls were carved with strange symbols. The air smelled like warm metal and flowers. Alien guards stood still like statues, their armor shining. The humans walked slowly, trying not to stare. They were brought into a great hall where the queen of the Thalani sat on a high throne. Her body was tall and graceful, with smooth dark plates and eyes like green glass. Round her stood royal advisors, dressed in long capes. A soft song played from small crystal speakers. The queen stood up and welcomed them in her language, which a small translator device quickly turned into human words. Her voice was clear and strong. She thanked them for coming to help and offered peace between her people and Earth. Tom stood near the back, holding his toolkit. He was not supposed to speak. He was just there to begin work once the formal greeting was done. But when the queen looked directly at him, he felt nervous. His hands moved on their own. He raised his right hand, pressed his thumb and middle finger together, and made a slow wave. Back home. This was a small sign of respect used by his old teacher. He had no idea it meant something very different here. The hall went silent. The music stopped. The queen froze. Her advisors turned toward each other in shock. Tom slowly lowered his hand, confused by the sudden change. Then the queen stepped down from her throne. She walked directly toward Tom. The guards did not stop her. No one spoke. She stopped only one step in front of him. Her eyes were focused on his. Then she placed one hand gently over his heart and said something in her own language. The translator spoke. "You have offered the sacred sign. You have chosen the bond. I accept." Tom blinked. He looked at the translator, then back at the queen. His crewmates stared at him, their mouths open. One of them tried to say something, but a guard raised a hand. The queen turned back toward her throne. "Let it be known," she said, "that the human named Tom has formed the sacred link with the queen of Mirias." The hall burst into music again, louder and faster. The guards raised their weapons in salute. The advisors bowed. Tom stood still, completely lost, back at their resting quarters. Tom finally asked, "What just happened?" His crewmates were not sure either, but one of them had a guess. Her name was Lena, a junior officer who had studied alien traditions. "Tom," she said, "I think you just gave the Thalani bonding gesture. It's not a normal greeting. It's a sacred thing, a sign of union, between two leaders or between mates." "Mates?" Tom asked. Lena nodded. "Yes, I think you just proposed to the queen." Tom sat down slowly. He looked at his hand, the one that had made the gesture. "But I didn't mean to. I was just being polite." "She accepted it in public," Lena said, "and the advisors confirmed it. That means it's official. You're bonded now, at least by their customs." Tom shook his head. There must be a way to fix this. But even as he said the words, a knock came at the door. Two guards stood outside. One of them spoke in a soft tone. "The queen invites her bonded guests to dine with her this evening. Special clothes have been prepared." They handed Tom a box filled with royal robes. Tom stared at the box, then at Lena. "This is not happening," he said, but it was that evening. Tom walked through the palace in fine clothes he did not understand. Every alien he passed bowed or made a clicking sound of respect when he entered the dining room. The queen stood and smiled. "I'm pleased you accepted my invitation," she said. "This is a special day for our people." Tom sat carefully across from her. The table was filled with strange food, glowing fruits, and steaming drinks. The queen raised a glass made of crystal. "To the Union," she said. Tom tried to smile. He lifted his own glass. "To peace," he said quietly. That night, alone in his guest chamber, Tom looked out at the alien city beyond the window. Lights floated in the sky. Distant ships moved slowly. Everything was quiet. Everything had changed. He had come to fix power systems. Now, somehow, he was the center of a royal bond with the queen of an alien world, and he had no idea how to undo it, or if he even should. Tom woke up early the next morning. The bed he had slept in was too soft, and the blanket felt like it was made of light. He rubbed his eyes and sat up slowly. The room was quiet, but not empty. A tall alien guard stood near the door, watching him with still eyes. Tom stood and looked around. A fresh outfit was placed at the end of the bed. It was dark blue, with silver edges and the royal symbol of the Thalani. He picked it up carefully. "Am I really the queen's mate?" he whispered to himself. There was a soft knock on the door. A different guard entered and bowed. "The queen has arranged a tour of the inner palace," he said. "She wishes you to learn the ways of our people." Tom did not know how to respond. He only nodded. He changed into the outfit and followed the guards through long, curved halls made of smooth stone and metal. They passed glowing waterfalls, moving walkways, and tall windows showing gardens filled with flying insects and strange trees. The palace was beautiful, but Tom felt nervous. He had come here to do a simple repair job. Now everyone treated him like royalty. Everywhere he went, alien workers stopped and bowed. Some made clicking sounds with their hands, others placed small glowing stones at his feet. A group of young Thalani children waved excitedly as he passed. The guards walked with silent pride. Later, Tom was brought into a room with a large round table. There were food items set neatly in front of him. As he sat, Queen Varel entered the room. Her steps were slow, graceful, and calm. She wore a long robe with silver threads and small lights woven into the cloth. "I hope your rest was peaceful," she said. Tom nodded. "It was, thank you." She sat across from him. Her eyes looked directly into his. "I see doubt in your face. Human Tom, is our bond troubling you?" Tom opened his mouth, then closed it again. How could he explain this? How could he say that he had no idea what the gesture meant? "I am only confused," he said slowly. "On Earth, that gesture is not sacred. I meant no disrespect." The queen tilted her head. "Then why did you do it?" Tom smiled nervously. "It is something I learned from an old teacher, a small way to show respect. I thought it was polite." The queen was silent for a moment. Then she nodded. "Our customs are not yours, but the gesture was made before many eyes. The people believe in the bond now. We cannot take it back without dishonor." Tom looked down. "I understand. I never wanted to cause a problem." "You have not caused a problem," the queen said. "You have given my people hope. They believe our races can grow stronger together. Many of them have never seen a human before. You are a symbol now." Tom looked up again. "A symbol?" "Yes," she said. "A sign that the old ways can change, that the future can be shared." Tom ate slowly after that. The food was soft and sweet, with a taste like fruit and spice. The queen asked him questions about Earth. He told her about rain, mountains, and animals like horses and cats. She listened carefully, always asking more in return. She told him about the history of the Thalani, about wars long past and the long search for peace. After the meal, Tom was led to a new room. It was smaller than before, but filled with strange tools and machines. His toolkit was already there. "We wish for you to continue your work," said one of the guards. "The queen honors your skills." Tom felt a small bit of comfort, at least here, with machines. He knew what to do. As he worked, his mind stayed busy. He thought about the queen's words, the way she had looked at him, and how the people treated him. It was like a dream, and he wasn't sure if he wanted to wake up or not. Later in the evening, Tom was walking near the garden when he saw Maria, the human linguist from the embassy. She had just arrived on the planet to help with translation duties. She ran over to him, her eyes wide. "Tom, what did you do?" she asked in a whisper. Tom sighed. "I made a hand sign. I didn't know it meant bonding." Maria shook her head. "You don't know how serious that is. I've read their culture files. That gesture is part of a sacred ceremony. It's something that hasn't happened in generations. You didn't just make a mistake. You created a story." "I tried to explain it to the Queen," Tom said. "She listened. She wasn't angry. She won't show anger. Not in public. But the court is talking. They are calling it destiny. Some believe it was meant to happen." Tom frowned. "I'm just a technician." "Not anymore," Maria said. "You're something else now. Maybe a prince, maybe a symbol. But you're no longer just Tom." That night, back in his chamber, Tom looked at his reflection in the tall mirror. He did not look different. Same short hair, same quiet eyes. But everything around him had changed. He remembered the Queen's words again. "You have given my people hope." He didn't know what that meant yet, but for the first time, he thought maybe his mistake wasn't only a mistake. Maybe it was something more. Maybe, just maybe, it was the beginning of something big. Tom had now spent 5 days inside the royal palace of Mirias. Each morning began with a formal greeting from the guards, followed by a schedule made by Queen Varel's advisors. His life no longer belonged to him. Everything felt like it was part of a plan that he didn't fully understand. The Queen continued to treat Tom with kindness and respect. They had breakfast together, sometimes shared long talks about their worlds, and attended short walks in the palace garden. She always looked calm, always spoke gently, and always called him my bonded. The words still made Tom feel strange. He was not her mate, not her husband, and not ready for such a bond. He had come here as a technician, and now the entire galaxy thought he was married to an alien queen. On the 6th day, Tom was called to the Hall of Songs. It was the largest room in the palace, filled with tall blue crystals that sang when touched by light. He had been there only once, during the first ceremony. This time, the room was full of Thalani nobles. Queen Varel stood in front of them, wearing a royal robe with golden symbols. She raised her hand, and the room fell silent. "We gather to prepare the final stage of the sacred bond," she announced. "Our union must be sealed by the trial of worth. This is our tradition." The nobles cheered in approval. Tom's heart sank. He turned to Maria, who was standing near the wall with other human representatives. Her face showed clear concern. Later, Tom met Maria in private. "What is this trial?" he asked. "Do I have to fight someone?" Maria looked through her translator device, scrolling through Thalani cultural records. "It's a test," she said. "Not always a fight, but something difficult. It shows that you are worthy of the bond. It's a way to prove loyalty and strength." Tom rubbed his forehead. "I didn't ask for this bond. I didn't ask for any of this." Maria nodded. "I know. But now that it's public, breaking it would insult the Queen. Worse, it would insult the Thalani people. They might see it as betrayal. It could damage Earth's relationship with Mirias." Tom sat down and stared at the floor. "So I have to go through with this?" Maria placed a hand on his shoulder. "Maybe not in the old way. You're not Thalani. Maybe they'll allow something different, but you have to try. If you walk away, it could start a political crisis." That evening, Tom met with Queen Varel privately. The room was quiet, with soft lights and a low hum in the walls. The Queen was seated near a table with glowing flowers. "I need to ask something," Tom said. "Speak freely," the Queen replied. "Why are you allowing this bond to continue? You must know I made the gesture by mistake." The Queen looked at him for a moment before answering. "I do know," she said. "But once a bond is accepted in front of the people, it becomes part of our history. If I deny it now, they will lose faith. They believe this was meant to happen." Tom sighed. "But what about you? What do you want?" Varel stood and walked slowly toward a window. The garden lights reflected in her eyes. "I did not plan for this, but I see it as a chance to unite two worlds. I believe in peace. You are not a warrior, yet you walked into our palace and showed respect. That is rare. That means something. Tom stood quietly. Then he nodded. Then I'll do the trial, he said. But only if it's fair. I won't survive something built for Thalani warriors. The queen turned toward him. Then it will be fair. You will face the trial of the path. It is more about wisdom and heart than strength. The next morning, Tom was taken to the trial grounds. The arena was wide and open, with red sand and tall stone pillars. Strange machines floated above, watching everything. In the center stood a Thalani elder holding a long staff. The trial of the path begins now. The elder announced. Tom stepped forward. The challenge was made of 3 parts. First, he had to solve a puzzle involving energy flows and moving parts. It reminded him of his old work fixing systems. He took a deep breath and began. He failed the first try, but succeeded on the second. The second part tested his understanding of Thalani values. He was given 3 situations and had to choose actions that honored life, loyalty, and truth. He answered with honesty. The crowd watched in silence. The third part was a walk through a path of illusions. Strange lights and sounds tried to confuse him. He saw visions of Earth, of failure, of war. He kept moving forward, step by step, thinking of his old life, his team, and the Queen's words. When he finally reached the end, the arena was silent. Then, the elder raised his staff. The human Tom has passed the trial of the path. He is proven. The Thalani nobles began to cheer. A soft drumbeat played in the distance. Tom stood in the center of the arena, breathing hard but feeling lighter than before. Later that evening, Queen Varel came to him. You have done well, she said. I didn't know if I could, Tom replied. You showed courage without violence. She said, that is the path of true strength. Tom looked at her and smiled. For the first time, he felt that maybe the bond was not just a mistake. Maybe it was the start of something that neither of them had expected, but both of them were beginning to accept. The morning after the trial of the path, Tom was greeted by cheers in the palace. Guards stood straighter when he passed. Servants offered him sweet fruits and warm drinks. The palace workers whispered his name with respect. Tom, the human technician from Earth, was now seen as a worthy mate to their queen. But Tom did not feel like a hero. He still felt like a visitor in a place he barely understood. Later that day, Queen Varel met with him in the royal garden. The sky above was filled with soft pink clouds, and small creatures flew from tree to tree, glowing like fireflies. You have completed the trial of the path, she said. Now the court wishes for you to walk the blooded path. Tom raised his eyebrows. That doesn't sound peaceful. The queen gave a small smile. It is not dangerous, not in the way you fear. The blooded path is symbolic. It is part of our bonding tradition. You walk the steps of our ancestors alone. You face your thoughts, your fears, and your place in our world. Tom nodded slowly. So I walk, and I think. Yes, Varel replied. But this walk is done on sacred ground. No machines, no guards, no help. You must walk the path from the palace to the ancient riverstone and return before the second moon sets. How long is it? 14,000 steps. In your count, perhaps 10 kilometers. Tom looked out past the garden wall. The land stretched wide and open, covered in low grass and smooth hills. When do I start? Now, if you accept. Tom looked at her, then nodded. I'll do it. The queen gave him a short staff made of polished stone. A single red ribbon was tied near the top. This will guide you, she said, when you return. If the ribbon still flows, the bond will be complete. Tom walked to the palace gate. A group of Thalani nobles stood there, watching in silence. One of them stepped forward and placed a small shell in his hand. For protection, the noble said. Tom placed it in his pocket and stepped through the gate. The blooded path was quiet. The sun above was warm, but not too hot. The land was strange, but beautiful. Soft purple grass covered the hills. Trees with silver bark lined the distant sides. The wind moved gently, carrying scents Tom had never smelled before. He walked with care, his boots pressing into the soft soil. He followed stone markers shaped like triangles. Some were old and cracked, others fresh and clean. as he walked. His thoughts turned inward. He thought of Earth, of his small apartment, of the coffee shop near his old job, of the park where he used to sit and watch birds. He thought of his team, of Maria, and of how quickly his life had changed. Then he thought of the Queen. She was unlike anyone he had ever met, calm, wise, always thinking before speaking. She had not forced him into anything. She had listened, asked questions, and shown him trust. He had started to trust her in return. After many steps, Tom reached a high hill. From the top, he could see the ancient river stone. It stood alone in the center of a clear field. The stone was tall and dark, shaped like a blade stuck in the ground. He walked toward it slowly, feeling the wind push against him. At the river stone, Tom sat down. He placed the staff beside him and rested. The stone had words carved into it in the Thalani language. He couldn't read them, but he felt their weight. This was a place of memory, of honor, and of reflection. He thought again of his mistake, the hand sign he had made on that first day, the one that had started all this. He had done it with innocent intent, and yet it had changed everything. He wondered if he would go back and undo it if he could. He sat for a long time, thinking. Then he stood, took the staff, and began the walk back. As the second moon began to rise in the sky, glowing soft, blue behind the clouds, Tom reached the palace gates again. The nobles stood waiting. The Queen stood at the front. She looked at the ribbon on the staff. It still flowed freely in the wind. "You have returned," she said. "I have," Tom replied. "What did you learn?" Tom looked at her and answered, "That my place is not something I choose alone. It is shaped by others, by trust, by honor, and maybe by accident too. But what matters is what I do with it now." The Queen nodded. "You have walked the blooded path. You have passed all trials. The bond is now sealed, if your heart agrees." Tom was silent for a moment. Then he spoke. "I did not plan for this. I came here for work, not for ceremony. But I have seen your people, your ways, and your heart, and I do not want to walk away." The Queen raised her hand. "Then let it be known. The sacred bond stands." The nobles clapped their hands together. A song played from the crystal towers. The red ribbon was taken and placed in a glass shell. It would be stored in the royal hall for all to see. That night, Tom stood on the balcony of his chamber. The city lights of Myria shimmered in the distance. He no longer felt like a visitor. He felt like someone who had earned his place, step by step, and for the first time. He wondered what the future might look like if two worlds truly walked together. Days passed peacefully after the blooded path. Tom continued to live inside the palace. Now not as a guest, but as the Queen's official bonded partner. The court had accepted him. The people had started calling him Pathwalker, a title of honor. Tom still did his repair work during the day. He liked fixing machines. It was the one part of his old life that stayed the same. In the evenings, he walked with Queen Varel through the gardens, learning more about Thalani history and the galaxy around them. But not everyone in the palace was happy. In the shadows of the court, some of the Queen's advisors whispered. Behind closed doors, one of them, High Advisor Kellen, watched Tom closely. He was tall, with sharp features and golden rings on his arms. He believed the bond between a human and the Queen was dangerous. He wanted power for himself, and he saw Tom as an outsider who had arrived by mistake. One evening, while Tom was helping repair a cooling unit in the lower halls, Maria visited him. She had been busy working with the human embassy and translating Thalani documents. "Tom," she said in a low voice, "I found something strange." Tom wiped sweat from his forehead. "Strange how?" "I was reading old records from the Royal Archives. Some pages were locked behind security layers, but I got access with permission from the Cultural Exchange Office." Tom looked at her, curious. "Years ago," Maria continued, "some Thalani leaders planned a secret project. They believed forming a bond with a human could give them access to Earth's military technology. It was just a theory, but it was written like a prophecy. They believed it would bring them power and protection." Tom's face became serious. "And now they think I'm part of that prophecy?" Maria nodded. "I don't think Queen Varel believes in that plan. but someone in the court might. Maybe they saw your mistake as a chance to turn the old idea into real action. Tom crossed his arms. So this wasn't just a happy accident. Someone could be using the bond to get something more. Yes, Maria said, and you might be the key. Later that night, Tom sat alone in the palace garden. The stars above Maria's were bright. He felt calm on the outside, but his mind was full of questions. Was his presence really helping the queen? Or was he part of a plan she didn't see coming? Queen. Varel found him sitting near the edge of a small lake. She approached quietly and sat beside him. You are silent tonight, she said. Tom looked at her. I heard something today. Something about an old plan to use a human bond for power. The queen was quiet for a moment. I know of the writings, she said. They were written by those who no longer serve in this court. They believed fear was the path to safety. But I believe trust is stronger. Tom asked, do your advisors believe the same? Most do, she said. But not all. Some fear the future. They fear Earth's growing power. Do they fear me? She looked at him. Some might, but I do not. Tom nodded slowly. Then we must be careful. Someone could use this bond for the wrong reason. The queen agreed. She promised to speak with the council. She would watch their actions closely. But that warning came too late. The next day, during a public ceremony, a loud alarm echoed through the palace. Guards rushed toward the control tower. The energy core of the palace had gone unstable. Systems were failing. Lights flickered. Machines shut down. Tom ran to the core room. He knew the systems well now. When he arrived, the engineers were shouting. In panic, the main power line was redirected. One shouted. It was changed from the inside. Tom looked at the screen. The system had been reprogrammed. It wasn't a glitch. It was sabotage. He worked quickly, fingers moving fast across the control panel. With Maria's help, he found the hidden code. It had been placed by someone with royal access. It's someone from the court, Maria said. Tom nodded. They want to blame me, or maybe they want the queen to lose power. With one final command, Tom shut down the spreading failure and restarted the main system. The lights returned. The palace returned to normal. But the damage was done. Later, in the council chamber, Queen Varel stood before her advisors. Her voice was firm. This attack on the palace could have destroyed us. The bond between our worlds is not a tool for gain. It is a bridge. And anyone who tries to break it for power will answer to me. High Advisor Kellen stepped forward. The human brings risk, he said. His presence caused confusion. His mistake created this situation. Tom stepped forward as well. My mistake may have started this, but I've been honest since the beginning. I came here to help, not to lead. But I won't be used as a tool for your games. The queen looked at both of them. Then she raised her hand. Kellen, you are removed from your seat until your loyalty can be proven. You will no longer serve this court. Gasps filled the room. Guards stepped forward and escorted Kellen out. After the meeting, Queen Varel turned to Tom. You acted with courage today. You could have run, but you stayed. Tom replied. This bond may have started by accident, but I won't let anyone use it to hurt you or your people. The queen smiled. Then the bond is not a mistake. It is a choice, and it is stronger than fear. As the sun set on the horizon, the city of Myria stood calm once more. But Tom knew the real test was still ahead. Peace was not a gift. It had to be protected, step by step. For many days after the sabotage, the palace was tense. Guards doubled their patrols. Nobles walked with quiet voices and careful eyes. Tom could feel the change in the air. Myria's had always felt strange, but now it felt heavy, like something was waiting to happen. The queen held emergency meetings with her trusted council. The human embassy worked to make sure the bond between Earth and Myria stayed strong. Still, Tom knew something had changed forever. Maria came to see him again. Tom, I've checked more of the Queen's archives. There's something you should know, she said. He sat down beside her in the courtyard where vines grew along white walls. What is it now? He asked. Before the old advisors left power, they created a secret agreement with a small group of traitors. The goal was to slowly take control of Earth's gate points through this so-called royal bond. The Queen never signed it, but some on the council may have planned to bring it back. Tom frowned. So all of this, the bond, the rituals, the trials, it could have been a trap. Maria nodded. It started as a trap, but I don't think it stayed that way. Tom stood up and looked toward the high tower where the Queen often sat. I need to speak with her alone. No guards, no court. Just me and her. That evening, Queen Varel invited Tom to her private chamber. The room was quiet, lit with soft lights from floating crystals. The walls were covered in cloth painted with stories of old rulers. Long before the stars were explored, Tom stepped inside, holding nothing in his hands. I came to speak with truth, he said. The Queen stood near the window, looking at the city. She turned and faced him. Speak, Pathwalker. Tom walked forward. I now understand that this bond began with a mistake, but I also know that others tried to use it. They tried to turn it into something ugly, and still, you stood by me. You were not the only one tested, she said. I faced the court, my people, and even doubted my own heart, but I chose to trust you. Tom took a breath. Then I ask this now. Is our bond real, or is it only duty? The Queen walked toward him. Her green eyes held no fear, only calm understanding. At first, it was duty. Then it became a symbol. Now, it is something more. You did not run when others tried to twist your place here. You chose honor. You chose peace. Tom nodded. Then I want the bond to stand, not because I must, but because I choose it to. For a moment, they stood in silence. Then she reached out and placed her hand over his heart, the same way she did on the first day. I accept, she said, this time with full meaning. The next morning, the Queen and Tom stood together before the High Council. The chamber was full. Even visitors from other allied planets were present. Queen Varel raised her voice so all could hear. The bond between our worlds began by accident, but it has become a path to unity. Tom has proven his loyalty not through blood, but through wisdom and courage. From this day, he is not only the bonded, he is the bridge. She turned to him and offered a silver crest, the symbol of shared leadership. Tom accepted it with both hands. I did not plan this, Tom said, but I believe in it now. I offer Earth's trust, not with weapons or power, but with peace and honesty. The room filled with the sound of hands clapping and claws clicking, a sign of deep respect. That night, a celebration filled the palace. Lanterns floated in the sky. Dancers moved in wide circles. Songs in both Thalani and Earth languages were played. Food from both worlds was shared at long tables. Tom walked through the crowd, shaking hands, smiling, still surprised at how much had changed. He felt lighter, not like a visitor anymore. He felt part of something. Maria joined him for a moment. You handled that better than any ambassador I've seen, she said with a grin. Tom laughed. I guess making mistakes can sometimes lead to good things. Sometimes, she agreed, but only if you face them the right way. Later, Tom stood on the palace balcony beside Queen Varel. The stars were brighter that night. A soft wind carried the sound of music from below. Do you think our people will really stand together? He asked. The Queen looked at the sky. It won't be easy. But yes, I believe they can. Tom nodded. Then I'll do my part. Whatever that means now. You already are, she said. In the days that followed, news of the bonding reached other worlds. Earth leaders sent messages of support. Thalani citizens began requesting human cultural lessons. A new council was formed to lead joint projects, with Tom and Queen Varel at the center. The mistake that had once caused confusion was now a turning point in galactic history. A small gesture of respect, misunderstood but not rejected, had led to something greater than anyone had imagined. Tom knew challenges would still come. He knew not everyone would support this bond, but he also knew that something real had been built, something worth protecting. And this time, it was not by accident. Months had passed since the day Tom and Queen Varel stood before the High Council. The bond between Earth and Marias was no longer a strange tale or an accident. It had become the center of a new alliance, one built on trust, respect, and unexpected friendship. Tom had changed. He no longer felt like a visitor lost in alien customs. He walked through the halls of the royal palace with calm steps. The guards nodded to him with respect. The staff spoke to him not as a stranger, but as someone who belonged. He spent his mornings in council meetings. He listened to the problems faced by both Falani and human settlers. He offered simple ideas when the answers were hidden behind long speeches. The people respected that. He didn't speak to impress. He spoke to help. Queen Varel remained the leader, but she often asked Tom to stand beside her during public announcements. She said it reminded the people that this bond was not just political. It was personal. One morning, a report came in from a scout ship at the edge of the system. It had discovered an unknown vessel near the trade routes. No markings, no response signals. The ship had left before contact could be made. Tom looked over the report with concern. "Do you think it's pirates?" Varel shook her head. "Pirates don't run from patrols. This feels like something else." Within hours, 3 more ships were spotted in nearby sectors. Their flight paths seemed careful, like they were searching for something. Maria returned from Earth with more data. We ran scans. Those ships matched designs from the old border war. They were part of the group that refused peace with the Galactic Council. We thought they were gone. Tom stood beside a large display showing the system map. "They're not just flying by. They're watching us." The Queen turned to her council. "Prepare defense shields. Alert our outer stations. We will not attack, but we will not be unprepared." Tension rose quickly. Some nobles feared an invasion. Some traders wanted to leave the system. People started to ask questions. Is the bond making us weak? Did trusting humans bring danger to Marias? Tom heard the whispers. He didn't get angry. Instead, he visited local towns. He spoke to people directly. He listened to their fears. One child asked him, "Will they take the queen away?" Tom knelt and answered, "No one is taking her. Not while I'm here." Later, at the queen's side, Tom spoke during a broadcast that was shared across both planets. "This bond started with a mistake, but it grew strong because we faced hard times together. Now another challenge has come. We will face it the same way, together." People calmed. The streets became quiet again. But the ships didn't go away. In fact, one came closer. This time, it entered orbit. Queen Varel called for a private meeting with her war advisors. She invited Tom to join. A screen lit up, showing the unknown ship holding position just outside defense range. Tom watched it closely. If they wanted to fire, they would have done it by now. "They're testing us." The Queen agreed. "We will send a message, one they can't ignore." She walked to the center of the room and raised her hand. "I will go to the ship. Myself," she said. The room filled with gasps. One general stepped forward. "Your Majesty, that is too dangerous." Tom stepped forward too. "I'll go with her." The Queen looked at him. "Are you sure?" He nodded. "If we face this together, we show them we are not afraid." Within the hour, a small ship left the palace hangar. Tom and Varel stood side by side as the stars stretched around them. The silence of space felt different this time. It was not peaceful. It was full of questions. The unknown ship allowed them to dock. Inside, the lights were dim. The air smelled like cold metal. At the center of the chamber stood a group of tall, gray-armored beings. Their leader stepped forward. "You are the Queen of Myrias," he said. "Yes," Varel answered. "And this is Tom of Earth, my bonded." The leader paused. "We did not expect you to come yourselves." Tom looked him in the eye. "That is why we came, to show we do not hide." The alien leader studied them for a moment. "Your bond was reported across many systems. Some saw it as weakness, others saw it as a threat." Queen Varel spoke with calm strength. "Our bond is not weakness. It ended division. It built peace, and it will defend it if needed." The alien leader looked at the others, then back to them. "You have surprised us. We came to study, to judge. But now we see something else. We will return with what we have learned." Without another word, the visitors left the system. Back on Marias, the people cheered. News spread quickly that the threat had passed without war. The Queen had faced danger, and Tom had stood with her. Together, they had defended what they built. At the next council gathering, both humans and Thalani leaders stood together. A new banner was raised. It showed two hands. One human, one Thalani, joined in the same gesture that had started. Everything. Tom smiled when he saw it. Not bad for an accident. Queen Varel laughed softly. Not an accident anymore. A choice, a new path. Years later, the story of their bond was taught in schools. It became a symbol of how small moments could lead to great change. Tom remained by the Queen's side, not just as a partner, but as a voice for peace between worlds. The stars kept moving, and new challenges came. But the bond held strong, because it had been tested, because it had been earned, and because it had begun with one simple, human gesture of respect.